الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله أدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وبعد إخوة الكرام أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل كما قال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في القول والعمل آمين يا رب العالمين. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, I would like to share with you a couple of stories of two heroes of Islam, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One of the common thing between the two ashab is that they both belong to rich families, but they left the luxuries of life, they sacrifice it for the deen that we are carrying and holding. Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiyallahu anhu, he was from a family that was one of the wealthiest family of Mecca, of Quraysh. Even his parents used to import his clothes. People used to recognize, or sometimes even just the smell of the perfume, without even seeing him, they used to know Mus'ab ibn Umayr is somewhere around. He had those luxuries of life. He was enjoying it. But when he heard about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and one day he went to Darul Arqam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was addressing the Sahaba, and he was talking about the Day of Judgment. And Mus'ab ibn Umair was so impressed that he accepted Shahada, and he was young. He left everything. Initially, he hid his acceptance of Islam, but later on, one person saw him entering Darul Arqam and praying like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was praying. So he informed his mother. She tried to convince him to leave the Islam, but he didn't. So they end up asking him to leave the house, and even one of the narrations says that literally he was covering his shame when he left the house. They took everything from him. And he sacrificed it. He was enjoying the life. But when he realized the importance of Akhirah, when he knew what is waiting for him, he left all those materialistic things and he joined Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Later on in the Hijrah Habasha, migration to Habasha, first or second, he was also one of those people. And then prior to migration to Medina, as we know, there was the first pledge of Aqaba, when few people they came from Medina to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that pledge is called the pledge of Aqaba. And later on, those people requested Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam if they can have someone who can come and teach them goodness about the religion of Allah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed the first ambassador that can go and teach goodness to people of Medina. And guess who was he? Mus'ab ibn Umair radiyallahu anhu. He was the first ambassador Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent for the people of Medina to teach them the religion of Islam. And he did wonderful job there. That's why we see next year in the second pledge of Aqaba, around 70 people they accepted Islam and came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and did that pledge which is called the pledge of Aqaba. And that was the second pledge. Mus'ab ibn Umair, when he was preaching Islam, and just one story to share with you how impressive his talk was. Because you know, most of us brothers and sisters, we took this Islam for granted. We were born Muslim. We don't have the value of Islam the way those people have who by choice who came to the fold of Islam, into the fold of Islam. Not like most of us who are born Muslim and we don't have that value. So he left everything for the deen. So whatever he was saying, it was kind of impressive as well. So one of the person, his name was Hudayr, and he was the leader of his tribe also. I guess the tribe name was Abu Mashhal, or Mashhal tribe. So he decided, when he heard about Mus'ab ibn Umair, his preaching and his teaching, the way the people they are coming near to Islam, he decided to go to him and beat him. Like Umar radiyallahu anhu, he also made the same kind of intention when he was in Mecca, right? So he made that intention. He went to Mus'ab ibn Umair and started shouting and telling him that you are the one who is the cause or source of division among us and all that. Mus'ab ibn Umair radiyallahu anhu told him that, why not you just sit and listen what I'm preaching? And subhanAllah, when he recited few verses of the Quran and talked about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hudayr accepted Islam. There was another person, Sa'ad ibn Mu'az. At that moment he was not Muslim. He was waiting for Hudayr to come back. And when he saw him, he asked him that, you are not the same person. You seem to be changed. He said, yes, I accepted Islam. And then Sa'ad ibn Mu'az, he decided to try the same thing, going there and beating him. But the result was same, that he also accepted Islam. Mus'ab ibn Umair radiyallahu anhu. Later on, he was in the battle of Badr. In the battle of Uhud, he was carrying the flag of Islam, Muslimin. Back days, they used to carry that flag. It was the kind of, if the flag is fell down, it means that group is lost the battle. So he was carrying the flag of Muslimin. And an enemy came and slice his right hand. So immediately Mus'ab ibn Umair, he carried the flag in his left hand. And the enemy chopped off or sliced his left hand. Now subhanAllah, he was trying to carry the flag, with his shoulders or with mouth, but then he was martyred. And then the Sahabi, he took the flag. And Sahaba, they were crying when they saw the body of Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Because they knew that Mus'ab ibn Umair, before the acceptance of Islam, how he was living the life. Even when he used to walk, he used to drag his clothes. And now when he died, and they tried to cover his body, they did not have even enough cloths to cover his whole body. When they tried to cover his face, his feet were showing. And when they tried to cover his feet, his face was showing. And Rasul asked them to cover his face and put some grass on his feet. This was Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Second hero of Islam, brothers and sisters, Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu. He was also young, youth. And once Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu asked him, "O Salman, can you tell me your story, how you accepted Islam?" He is, by the way, Salman al-Farisi is called the seeker of truth. And look at his struggle for Islam and compare it to our struggle that sometimes we do a little bit and then we try to think that it's something that, enough that we did. Salman al-Farisi, he says about him that he grew up in a city called Isfahan, which is in present day is in Iran. And then he said that we were the fire worshipper. His father was the leader of the village. And when he grew up a little bit, he has the honor and he has that responsibility to keep the flame of the fire burning, because they were worshipping the fire. So this was his job, and that was kind of an honor. And his father always kept him in his house, not letting him to go out of his house. And the reason was, one of the narrations says he was the only child, and his father used to love him so much that he always tried to, just keep him in his house. One day he says that my father had a farm, and he used to go to work in that farm. And one day he was busy in the house, and he asked me if I can go there and fulfill that, to do that task or job. So he said, I left the house, and my father told me that make sure you come back on time. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu says, I left the house, and on my way I heard a noise coming from the church. So I went in, and when I saw them preaching and the way they were praying, he impressed so much that he said that I thought to myself that this is something, it's far better than what we are worshipping. And then he went back. He even didn't go to the farm or to do the job that his father asked him to do. He went back to his father, and his father was already worried because it was a little late already. So his father asked him, where were you? And he said, I was in the church. And then his father told him, these people, they are evil. Don't associate yourself with them. Don't follow them. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu said, no. What I saw based on that, they are far better than us. We worship fire and they worship one God. His father tried to convince him, but he was unable to do so. Then he he locked him in his house, and literally he chained his legs so he cannot go out. When he was in the church, Salman al-Farisi, he asked those people, what is the origin of this religion, Christianity? And they told him the Sham. And at that time the Sham included the Palestine and Lebanon, all that area, greater Sham. That is the origin of this religion. So when he was chained by his father, he conveyed this message to the member of the church, that whenever you have any caravan going towards the Syria, let me know. I also would like to go with them. So one day, he received a message that there is a caravan that is about to leave and is going towards the Sham. So Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, he managed to escape from the house and he joined that caravan. And when they reached Sham, he asked the people of Sham that who is most learned person, so I can go and learn from him. Remember, Salman al-Farisi is called the seeker of truth. So he was told that the bishop of the church, he is the most learned person. You can go and study under him. So he went there, he requested him if I can study with him, under him. He agreed, and Salman al-Farisi started living with him, praying with him. But he realized and he ended up knowing that this bishop was not a good person, because he was getting the charity money and he was keeping for himself. And when he died, the people, they start praising him, and Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu told them the real face of that bishop, and even informed him the place where he was keeping that treasure, gold, silver and money. The person who replaced that bishop, Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, later on when he was narrating this story to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, told him that that was one of the best men I ever have encountered. That was preaching the real teaching of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. So he says, I lived with him, and when he was about to die, I asked him for advice. Can you tell me about a person whom I can go and who is following the real teaching, the teaching of Jesus alayhi salam, so I can learn from that person? So making the story short, brothers and sisters, Salman al-Farisi, in search of truth, he traveled from there to Iraq, and then from there also he was learning under a preacher. When he was about to die, he asked him the same question. He directed him to another place, and one of the narrations says he ended up, the last preacher that he met was in Turkey. And when he was about to die, again the same question Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth, asked this preacher, who should I go to? So that preacher told him that I know none who is preaching the true teaching of Isa alayhi salam, but there are signs of a prophet who is going to come, and the sign is that he is going to come in a city which has a lot of palm trees, and it's between you can say, rocky mountains. And he also told him that when you meet him, look for these three signs. One is that he accepts the gift. Second, if you give him charity, he will not consume it. He will not, use it on himself, but he will distribute. And the third is the seal of prophethood between his shoulders. These are the three signs that you should look for when you meet him, before you believe on him. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, while living in Turkey, he knew that the Prophet is going to come in the land of Arabia. And living there, he accumulated a lot of wealth, cows and sheep, and he had all of that. One day, the leader of one of the tribe called Kalb, they were passing by and they were going towards that land. So Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, the seeker of truth, he managed to make an agreement with them that how about if you take whatever I have, you can take it. What I want from you is just take me to that land. They agreed. But later on they betrayed him when they were in between the Medina and Syria, a place called Wadi al-Qura. When they reached there, they gave it to a Jew person. In fact, they sold him to that Jew person as a slave. So Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, he was with that Jew for a while, and one day his cousin came and he asked him if he can have it, so he bought him again. And the cousin of that Jew or nephew, one of the narration says, was from Banu Qurayza. Now we know that Banu Qurayza, they were living where? In Medina. Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth, when he reached Medina with the nephew of the cousin of that, his master, his first master, he saw those palm trees, rocky mountain. So he says that I said to myself, this is the place where the messenger is going to come. And he says that I was working with that person from Banu Qurayza, and one day I was on top of that palm tree, and a cousin of my master, he came to meet with him, and they had that conversation, and his cousin was mentioning to him that may God destroy the people of Aus and Khizraj. They are trying to meet at a place called Quba with a man who came today from Mecca and who called himself a prophet. Salman al-Farisi radiyallahu anhu, the seeker of truth, he says that when I heard these words, I was about to, I shivered and about to, fell on my master. I thought that why not I just jump, down, and I should go and ask for further detail. So he went to that person and he told him, he requested him, can you repeat what you said? But his master, smacked him back and said, go and do your work. But Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth, at night, he took some, dates, and he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam at the place called Quba. That was the place where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam built the first masjid Quba. He went there, went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and told him, this is, these are the dates, and it's a charity from me. That was the first sign he was looking in him. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not eat from those dates, but he distributed among the poor. So he said, yes, the first sign is there. After a few days, again he took some dates, went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and told him, you don't accept you don't eat the whatever comes through charity, but here is the gift from me. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he ate those dates, and also his ashab, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, they also ate from those dates. So he said, okay, the second sign is also there. Now the third and last sign he wanted to see was the seal of prophethood between his blessed shoulders, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So one day he went, and Rasulullah was in al-Baqi' burying a dead body, and Rasulullah noticed that he wanted to look at the seal of prophethood. Rasulullah removed his cloth in a way that he can see it. And the moment Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth, saw those, the stem, the seal of prophethood between the shoulders of Rasulullah, immediately he accepted Islam. Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth, he was a slave at that time. So he went to his master because he could not worship freely. So he went to his master asking, if he can free him. But his master put a unique demand. He said that you have to grow 300 palm trees for me, and all of them should give fruit as well. And on top of that, you have to give me 40 grams of gold or silver. So he came to Rasulullah ﷺ and told him the situation. Rasulullah ﷺ asked the ashab to help their brother. They helped him. Rasulullah ﷺ told him, you guys just dig the holes, and I will come and place those trees. And subhanAllah, all of them were in a way that the master, he was satisfied with that, and later on they managed to give 40 grams also to the master. Salman al-Farisi, when we read the seerah of Rasulullah ﷺ, he could not participate in the battle of Badr and Uhud, but he was there in the battle which is known as Battle of Trench. And the reason it's known as Battle of Trench, one of the reasons is Salman al-Farisi. Because if you see the Medina, it's covered from three sides except from the north side. Rasulullah ﷺ asked the ashab how we can stop enemies entering in Medina from north side. So Umar radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr Siddiq, Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhu, they all were there, and Salman al-Farisi, he gave this advice to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are from in Persia. What we do is that in order to stop enemies to enter into a city, we dig the trench. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam liked that idea, and he asked his ashab to do so, and later on that was the reason of the defeat of the enemies. Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of the truth. Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu, the first one that I mentioned to you, heroes of Islam. And the reason, brothers and sisters, I started the discussion on the heroes of Islam in the series in which we will talk about our heroes, our real heroes. Look at that struggle. Mus'ab ibn Umayr, Salman al-Farisi. They were from one of the wealthiest families. If they willed, they could have enjoyed those luxuries of life, but they left it. For what? For the akhirah. For this religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us, brothers and sisters, we know about these heroes of Islam? How about our children? How about our children? How many times we discuss with them about these heroes of Islam? Do they know about Mus'ab ibn Umayr? Do they know about Khalid ibn Walid? Do they know about Salman al-Farisi, the seeker of truth? Brothers and sisters, we are living in a time, if we do our self-analysis, we see nowadays our children, our youth, spending a good amount of time in those things that sadly, keeping them little away from Islam. Let me give you one example. The example I would like to give is the video games. And the reason I'm saying it, that most of you sitting here, you shared your experience with me, asking for not an advice, but maybe an opinion, what we can do. We can categorize our community maybe into 3 categories. One of the category of parents are where your kids are 5 years old or maybe young, or 7 years old and younger. And we can make another category 7 and above till 13. And we can have another category 13 and above. Brothers and sisters, this, I should call it a disease that we have now in our houses. I said last night every other house, and one of the brothers corrected me saying every house. And we have to admit that. How much time our kids they are spending in video games. And based on the survey that I talked to parents and the kids, above age 7, between 7 and 13, they're spending around 3 hours on weekdays playing the video games. And above 13, the average time they spend during the weekdays, 5 hours, mashallah. The first category that we have, the children 7 and young. Wallahi, my humble request, not advice, my humble request to you all will be, and by the way, when I'm talking this is first of all applicable to me, myself. I'm talking to myself. And that is, please make sure you don't have this disease in your house. And if your kids are above 7, between 7 and 13, if they are busy in that, still you have time. Still you have time. With hikmah, with wisdom, you can take it away. And if they are above 13, I know it's a little hard. It's hard. They are playing from so many years. So we have to deal that with hikmah. One of the way is that, sometimes, and that is what you guys shared with me, and sometimes what happens, the father comes in, maybe after this khutbah, the announcement that maybe, some of you will make video games of haram, right? And you're going to immediately stop it. But after 2 days, again the same thing will happen. That's how the things will not work. The way you can do it with wisdom, for example, if they're playing for 5 hours, which is around 300 minutes, try to decrease even 1 minute with hikmah, with wisdom. That is better than just doing it for a week, for a couple of days, and then again they started doing it again. But wallahi, based on the experience of this community, I'm sharing with you. Sometimes parents, they come and complain that our kids, they are disrespectful to us. They don't listen to us. They are not focusing. The other day, one of the parents shared that, and I asked him one simple question. Sister, how much time your kid is spending in electronics? And to be honest with you, most of the time parents don't give you right answers, especially to Imam. Maybe, So she did the same thing. And I told her, let your children come in Isha and I will talk to him. And when I talked to the child, alhamdulillah, they are honest, and he told me, I spend around 3.5 hours every day. Brothers and sisters, I know this is something that became an essential part of our lives, our children's lives. But don't you know that, don't we want our kids to be respectful to us? Don't we want them that when they will be away from us, in college or anywhere, and on top of that, don't we expect that Rasulullah said, when you die, your connection with all the good deeds is cut off except 3 things, and one of them is وَوَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. Your righteous son or daughter makes dua for you. When they are with us, one of the parents complained that the moment they enter in the house, straight away they go to their own rooms, and we don't see them until next morning. They are playing video games, watching TV, doing their homework or whatever. We have, brothers and sisters, a very strong family system. Maybe some of us, we are not realizing it at this time, at this moment, maybe. One request I will have to those whose kids are maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 years, talk to those who have older kids. They will share their experience with you, and they will tell you what they are going through. Wallahi, when I see the tears in the eyes of a mother or a father, and they say that my son, my daughter don't listen to me, disrespectful and all that, not praying, not focusing, Imam, can you do something? It becomes a little hard, brothers and sisters, when they are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Those of you, as I mentioned, if your kids are still under 12, still you have a chance. And if they are above 13, make dua to Allah and make a plan. Make a solid plan. With hikmah, with wisdom. Inshallah, there will be a separate khutbah about the role of father. We need to talk little openly. Because sometimes when we talk about the tarbiyah of awlad, we push it towards the sisters. But what's the role of the father in the tarbiyah of awlad? Inshallah, we'll talk about that. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. قال سبحانه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، وأيد الإسلام والمسلمين، وأذل الشرك والمشركين، ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم بارك لنا في بيوتنا وفي رزقنا وفي أوقاتنا وفي حياتنا يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.